Welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Talk Special Economic Zones. I'm your host Ainsley Brown. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about using special economic zones as a um, resilience node, or using special economic zones to sell resilience as a service. This is a very topical subject these days, especially because of the high freight costs that are around, and they still seem to be going up. And probably based on what most experts are saying, it's going to be around for a little while yet, as we sort out the impacts of COVID-19. And we're still in the pandemic, of course. So, how can special economic zones help with this? And a critical feature is of most special economic zones, almost all special economic zones, because this is what the one incentive that seems to be universal, and that is the for want of a better term, suspension of duties on the importation of raw materials or goods into the zone. Now, what this does is that it brings up a postponement model. And as the word says, postponement comes from the word postpone. So it pauses things, meaning it pauses the goods, pauses the duties. Uh, Zones, therefore, can act as gigantic warehouses, if you will, storehouses for different things, which would add to, for example, energy security of a country, storing oil, petroleum-based products, and such and so forth. It can also act as a buffer for food security because likewise you can store food, whether imported or even from local agricultural production. Likewise, the because of the incentives of zones, some zones at least, investment in certain capital equipment, particularly with food, you have cold storage that can be developed and aid in food storage. So I believe zones really can act as that buffer or that resilience node, and it is a service that can be sold um, to folks. Firstly, for the designers of zones, the governments, the designers of regimes, I should say, but then also for developers that are building out projects. These are areas that can be focused on, and people that you can focus to attract to say, okay, this will help stabilize or build a little bit of more resilience in your supply chain or in your value chain, depending on how terminology that you want to use. So, you can use, you hear, these days about nearshoring and all of these different things. Zones that are close to major markets can act in that way, or countries with zones near to major markets can act as that warehouse, that storage area, to facilitate those types of things. For example, I know in Jamaica, the freight rates have skyrocketed, but that is for the most part freight rates, for example, from China, where a lot of raw materials come. However, the freight rates from Jamaica to the United States have um, remained relatively stable. That actually makes Jamaica and its special economic zones all that more attractive for both investment and trade, right? So, imagine, for example, goods that have been imported from China, say 6 months ago, and they cost, and just looking at the freight rate costs alone, the freight rate cost 6 months ago was much cheaper than it is now. So therefore, the goods that you have potentially or technically should be cheaper than brand new goods, right? That you have held on to. And those, the Jamaica is well positioned. And it's not just Jamaica, right? I'm using it as an example, it's the best example I know. But other countries with zones near to the United States or even other markets in Europe, or even in China or countries bordering China can act as that resilience hub or resilience, or add resilience or sell resilience as a service, emanating from zones. All right. So if you like this episode, please like, share, leave a comment down below. If you want to see a future episode or different episode than I've been producing thus far, just let me know and I'll get right back to you.